Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, counter-spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve.
Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into our time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
Well, for this time of the year, a very appropriate episode of radio's outstanding theater of thrills, Suspense, starring Frank Lovejoy and Joan Banks. Joan Banks misses Frank Lovejoy. From December 28th, 1958, this episode, the 32nd of December.
Suspense. And the producer of radio's outstanding theater of thrills, the master of mystery and adventure, William N. Robeson.
Tampering with time has been an ambition of man since he first realized how inexorably he is time's slave. At this time of the year, although we have even less time on our hands, time is much in our minds. We make a magic ritual of New Year's Eve when we suppose we can flush away all our past impurities and begin afresh at that magic hour of midnight on the 31st of December. But suppose we couldn't. Suppose the 31st of December were not the end. Listen then as Mr. Frank Lovejoy stars in the 32nd of December.
And now, the 32nd of December, starring Mr. Frank Lovejoy, a tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
New Year's Eve. As far as I was concerned, when I got up the morning of December 31st, it could stay 1958 forever. The only trouble is time doesn't work that way. Time is a downhill ride in a car with no brakes. You can't stop it even if your life depends on it. And mine did.
Joe, your breakfast is getting cold.
I'm coming. All I have time for is a cup of coffee anyway. What is this, milk? Don't we ever have anything but milk to put in the coffee?
You know we can't afford cream these days. We can hardly afford to eat.
Molly, you'll be wearing mink yet. Just give me a little more time.
Yeah, you've been saying that ever since we got married.
Well, sooner or later, Molly, I'm going to make it. By the way, honey, let me have your ring.
Why?
Well, you said the diamond's loose. I'll drop it at the jeweler's on my way to the office.
Oh, we can't afford to get it fixed now.
Molly, that's an expensive ring. We can't afford not to take care of it.
Joe, have you been gambling again?
Oh, now, Molly, I told you, I'm all through with that.
You told me the same thing just before you pawned your watch. And the cufflinks I gave you on our first anniversary.
I'm not going to pawn your engagement ring. Now, let me have it. I'll pick it up on my way home tonight.
Well, all right, but, Joe...
What?
Remember, it's very precious, at least to me.
Sure, I've been gambling again. I was in the hole bad. The boys wanted the payoff by midnight, and this time they weren't going to take no for an answer. If I couldn't raise the dough on Molly's ring, I didn't know what I'd do. The pawn shop was like any other pawn shop. Dirty and gloomy, full of junk, with clocks ticking all over the place. One thing caught my eye as soon as I came in. In the front case, a watch, curiously ornate, obviously very old. It sort of glowed in the case. I couldn't take my eyes off it.
You like to look at the watch?
No. No, it's very interesting, but, how much can I get on this ring?
On this, I can lend you $150.
150? The guy I won it off claimed it was worth more than 1,000.
150?
I can probably get 500 for it, easy.
Then you would be foolish to accept my offer.
That's the best you can do?
150.
I'll take it.
I will get the money.
While I waited, I felt my eyes drawn to the antique watch again. I picked it up. It felt warm in my hand, almost as if it were alive. Its face was covered with all sorts of dials and figures. The date of the month, phase of the moon, even the signs of the zodiac. Some of the dials I couldn't read at all. They were inscribed with strange characters like hieroglyphics or ancient Sanskrit. Suddenly, I felt I had to have that watch.
100, 20, 40, 45, 150.
Can you tell me what all these dials mean?
I can tell you only that this watch controls many kinds of time. The fellow who pawned it claimed it could make time pass as slowly or as rapidly as he desired.
That's a pretty good trick.
Mm-hmm. But only a trick. Time is different for each of us, is it not?
What do you mean?
To a man sitting on a hot stove, 1 second lasts forever. But to a man making love, forever is only a second.
Yeah, I see what you mean. How much are you asking for the watch?
$150. Excuse me. Hello. Yes, one moment, please. Is your name Joe Adcock?
Yeah, why?
Yes, Mr. Adcock is here.
Who is it?
Who is calling? Hello. Hello? That is odd.
Nobody knew I was coming here. Who was it?
He did not identify himself. He just said, I would not believe him. Then he hung up.
It's funny. Say, now what about the guy who pawned this watch? Any chance of him wanting it back?
No, Mr. Adcock. He will not return for it. He has no further use for the watch.
Okay. Well, then I'll take it. I don't know why, but I've got to have it.
December 28th, 1958, Suspense on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox.
And here's the Cinnamon Bear.
The oldest known children's Christmas serial in radio history, The Cinnamon Bear, featuring some of the most popular actors in radio history, including Elliot Lewis, Joseph Kearns, Verna Felton, Lou Merrill, Frank Nelson, Howard McNear, and child actress Barbara Jean Wong. 85 years later, this series of Judy and Jimmy traveling to Maybeland to recover their silver stars still fascinates youngsters of all ages. Now we're offering the entire 26-episode series of The Cinnamon Bear via download for a Buy Me a Coffee donation of $10 or more at classicradio.stream. Support Classic Radio Theater and have The Cinnamon Bear for your family to enjoy for years to come. Go to classicradio.stream and donate $10 or more, and I'll send you a link for immediate download. classicradio.stream. Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, the conclusion of Suspense, the 32nd of December, December 28th, 1958, Frank Lovejoy and Joan Banks.
I had no business buying the watch. It was a crazy thing to do. I hadn't walked more than a few steps from the pawn shop when I learned just how crazy.
Hold it, Adcock.
Well, who are you?
Just one of the boys.
What do you want?
A little talk. Private. In the alley here.
But I don't have...
In the alley.
Ow, my arm.
You got the grand, Adcock?
I got until midnight to get it.
Yeah, that's right. The boss just wants me to make sure you don't forget. Like last time.
Oh, I won't forget, I promise.
I'll be waiting for you at midnight. Right here by the pawn shop. Oh, and one more thing.
So what is it?
This.
Oh,
That's just to make sure you don't forget. If you don't show up with the dough, there ain't going to be no New Year for you. You understand?
Yes, I understand.
Good. See you at midnight.
I had to get back the 150. Maybe I could make a fast killing at the track with it, or something. I had to get it back.
Oh, back so soon, Mr. Adcock?
Yes, I made a mistake.
We all make mistakes. That is life.
Look, I've got to have that money back. Here's your watch.
My watch, Mr. Adcock? This is your watch. You bought it.
But I don't want it. I want the money.
A deal is a deal.
But you don't understand.
It is you who do not understand, Mr. Adcock. To sell the watch, you must find a buyer. I am not buying.
Look, you got to help me. Well, will you take the watch and pawn?
Of course. That is my business.
How much can I get for it?
$5.
$5? Just a few minutes ago, I paid $150 for it.
It is unfortunate that I do not value it so highly now. $5?
No, thanks. $5 wouldn't help me. I had to have money, big money. My only chance now was to try to borrow it.
I know you've had an account here for years, Mr. Adcock, and of course we like to do what we can for our regular customers, but unless you have some collateral...
Well, what kind of collateral?
Oh, stocks, bonds, real estate.
If I had that kind of stuff, I wouldn't need the loan.
500? Joe, you're crazy. Hey, bartender, another beer.
All right, Harry. Make it a C note. Anything.
Yeah, well, what about the C note you borrowed last August?
Oh, I'll pay you back. Honest.
Yeah, I heard that last August.
Oh, Harry, how long have you known me?
10 years, I guess.
All right, 10 years. Doesn't that count for anything?
For a C note, it don't.
Oh, but Harry...
No.
Not a dime. Not a lousy dime. Only one thing left to do.
Central Flower Shop.
Molly, I want you to come home right now.
Joe, aren't you at work?
No, I'm home.
What's the matter? Are you sick?
I'm all right. Just come home and hurry.
Joe, what's wrong?
We've got to get out of town. Fast. It took only a few minutes to throw everything Molly and I owned into suitcases. I kept looking at the watch, wondering when Molly was going to show up.
At the tone signal, the correct time will be 2:30.
2:30? What's keeping her? Well, at least the watch is on time. I wonder when I ought to wind it. Might as well do it right now. If I can figure out which one of these knobs to use. Try this one. What the devil? Where did the sun go? It was shining a minute ago. Now it's snowing. Oh, blasted, I did get the wrong knob. I moved it back to the 28th, so now I've got... Hey, wait a minute. The 28th was Sunday, the day we had the big snowstorm. Could the watch have... Ah, it's impossible. I set it back to the 31st, and I... What the... Now the sun is shining. Did the watch change the day, or am I losing my mind? Maybe I could set it again, test it. Let me see. I was in that pawn shop just before 1 o'clock. I set the hour hand back to 12:45. There, now we'll see. Is this the 3rd Avenue pawn shop?
Yes.
Is Joe Adcock there?
One moment, please. Is your name Joe Adcock?
Come on.
Yes, Mr. Adcock is here.
Who is it?
Who is calling?
You wouldn't believe me if I told you. I could hardly believe it myself. But there was no question about it. The watch did control time. Once I'd grasped that fact, I began to realize its implications. For the first time in my life, I could have all the time I needed, all the time I wanted.
Joe. Oh, Joe, what's wrong?
Not a thing, Molly, not a thing.
But you said we had to leave town.
Oh, did I? Well, that's all over now.
Joe, what are you talking about? I'll probably lose my job.
No, don't get excited. Well, I might as well tell you the whole story. I lied to you about the gambling, Molly. I'm $1,000 in debt. I've got to pay off by midnight, but...
You pawned my ring, didn't you?
But now, don't worry. I'll get it back.
You lied to me.
I said I'll get it
You
back.
had no right to pawn it. It's mine. I want my ring,
All
Joe.
right, I'll get it.
Now, right now.
I haven't got time now. I've got to get back to the bank before it closes.
Get my ring, you promised.
Will you quit nagging me about your blasted ring? Let me get back to the bank. We'll have enough money to buy you a dozen rings.
Joe, what are you going to do?
I'm going to rob the bank. What else? I had the watch figured out right. Robbing the bank would be as easy as taking pennies from a blind man. It was 2 minutes to 3 when I walked into the bank and headed for the vault.
Oh,
hello, Mr. Adcock. Back again, I see.
Yeah, I've got to get into my safety deposit box.
Certainly. Go right ahead.
Good. Nobody else in here. Now, I just turned the watch back to Sunday, the 28th. It worked. I'm locked in the vault, and it's Sunday. Now, let's see where they keep the ready cash. There it is. Stacks of it, and all mine. Well, that's plenty for now. Enough to pay the mob and more. There's always more where this comes from. Now, reset the watch to December 31st. Perfect. The perfect crime. All I have to do is get out of here without letting them see the money.
Mr. Adcock.
Yes?
A happy and prosperous New Year to you, sir.
Oh, thanks. Thanks a lot. Molly! Hey, Molly. Molly, it worked. We're rich.
Have you been drinking?
No, not a drop. Here, look at this. Go on. Pick them up. They're real.
Joe. These are $1,000 bills. Where did you get them?
I robbed the bank.
Oh, come on, Joe.
I always told you I'd make it big someday. Well, today is the day. Now, you go out and buy yourself a dress. We're going to celebrate New Year's Eve in style.
Happy New Year, Joe. Happy New Year.
Yeah, come on. Let's get out of this crowd.
It's almost midnight. I thought we were going to celebrate. You were going to take me to a nightclub.
Yeah. But first, I got to meet a guy at midnight. Come on.
Ooh.
A guy. I got to pay off that gambling debt.
Well, where are you meeting him?
It's just a block away in front of the pawn shop.
Pawn shop. My ring. Joe, you forgot my ring.
Oh, for Pete's sake. I'll get your lousy ring back. Just give me a little time.
Oh, a little time. That's the story of your life, isn't it, Joe? Just give me a little time. Well, all right. I'll give you all the time you want, all the rest of your life. I'm through with you, Joe. I just can't take it anymore.
Molly, don't leave me. Molly, come back.
Happy New Year!
Whoa. What happened? Molly just disappeared. The street is deserted. Molly! Hey, where is everybody? I wonder if this crazy watch had anything to do with the 32nd. It should have clicked over to January 1st. Oh, no wonder everybody disappeared. There isn't any 32nd of December. I'll just reset it. It's stuck. It won't budge. Oh, it's got to move. It's just... Oh, no. It can't be broken. I can't stay in the 32nd of December forever. I've got to fix it. I've got to get the back off. I've got to get it to works. There. But there's nothing inside. It's the 32nd of December. And it will always be the 32nd of December.
Suspense, in which Frank Lovejoy starred in William N. Robeson's production of The 32nd of December, written by Morris Lee Green and William Walker. Supporting Frank Lovejoy in The 32nd of December were Joan Banks, Barney Phillips, Sam Pierce, and Norm Alden. Listen again next week when we return with another tale well calculated to keep you in suspense.
Tonight, thrill with Gunsmoke on the CBS Radio Network.
talked a lot about Frank Lovejoy, the radio series Night Beat, his movie roles, including in The Hitchhiker and the movie version of I Was a Communist for the FBI. Joan Banks had quite the radio career as well, being the stand-in when Kathy Lewis was out ill with Marie Wilson in My Friend Irma, but also Bringing Up Father, Buck Private and His Girl, Gangbusters, John's Other Wife, Valiant Lady and Young Widder Brown, and yes, she did her film and television roles. All righty, that is Suspense, December 28th, 1958, the 32nd of December, here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. We'll head to San Francisco, California, when Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox continues, and check in on Paladin. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thanks for tuning in on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Thank you for making us a part of your day. And let's head out west to San Francisco, California. Have Gun Will Travel, starring John Dehner as Paladin, December 28th, 1958.
You came to me with a torch and a gun. You call it righteousness. Call it by its right name. Murder. Have Gun Will Travel. Starring Mr. John Dehner as Paladin. San Francisco, 1875. The Carlton Hotel. Headquarters of the man called Paladin. Come in.
Whoa, clean socks, Mr. Paladin. Clean socks for trip, very important.
Oh, yes, thank you. Hey, boy, just put them in the bag there.
Yes, sir. Oh, bottle of brandy in bag, too.
It's for the trip, very important.
Oh, snake bite.
Correct.
Oh, no snakes in Nevada territory this time of year.
Why not?
Too cold. Maybe brandy for other purpose, like drinking?
Maybe.
Or maybe to give lady named Cleo to make warm?
The lady named Cleo has hired me to do a job, that's all.
Oh, sure.
She wants me to find her husband.
Oh, sure.
And she's paying me very well.
Oh, sure.
Hey, boy. You know what you are?
No, what I are?
Auf den Knödel.
Auf den Knödel?
Yes. Now, carry this down to the lobby for me. I'm ready to leave the comforts of the Carlton Hotel and head for the wilds of Nevada.
Auf den Knödel.
The lady named Cleo, whom I had traveled over 1,000 miles to help, turned out to be a fat shrew of 50. And her desperate need of me was to find a husband who had understandably tried to blot out his memory of her with drink. By the time I found him, he'd done pretty well. I figured they deserved each other, so I brought him back, memory and all. But I was left in the middle of the Nevada desert, miles from the railroad. I'd been riding for a full day when I heard a strange sound in the desert stillness, or at least a strange sound for that lonesome place. It was a baby's cry. And then I saw the wagon. It sat alone, without horses, forlorn in the sand, no sign of life, except the sound. I dismounted and walked toward the wagon.
Get away from that wagon.
Well, I thought it was deserted.
Move away, mister, while you still can.
Is this all right?
Now get on your horse and ride on.
Are you alone here?
That don't matter.
A woman can't last out here by herself. Where's your man?
Clear out, mister.
What's that you've been digging?
It don't concern you.
Is it a grave? Who's it for?
The baby and me.
Oh, look, I don't know what this is all about, but won't you let me help you?
You can't help us none.
I can try.
You ain't a doctor, are you?
No, I'm not.
Move on, then.
What's wrong with the baby?
Typhoid. Typhoid fever.
Well, maybe I could have.
Hold fast, mister. I'd just as soon shoot you dead as know you got a killing fever from us.
But you just can't stay
Please,
out here
mister. I ain't got the strength to dig another grave.
Has the doctor seen your baby?
No.
Well, then you can't be sure it's typhoid.
Mr. Mulrooney knows.
Who?
Mulrooney, the wagon master. He knows the symptoms.
And he just cut you loose? Left you out here to die?
He said it was either the baby and me or the whole wagon train.
Are they sending help?
What can they do?
And there's a settlement less than a day's ride from here. We'll hitch my horse to the wagon
No.
and head on.
They won't let us in. The wagon train's there by now. They'll know about the typhoid. They'll never let us in, not now.
Look, there's fresh water and food in my saddlebag. Enough to hold you till I get back.
Where are you going?
To get help.
Mister, you don't have to do this.
Let's just say I want to. Pardon me, ma'am.
Yes?
They said at the store I'd find a doctor at this house.
Yes, that's right.
My name is Paladin. I'd like to speak to the doctor, if I may.
You are, Mr. Paladin.
You're the doctor?
Dr. Phyllis Thackeray.
Oh, well, how do you do?
Didn't they tell you down at the store?
Well, there were some looks.
I guess people out here haven't got used to the idea of a woman doctor. Most of them won't even believe I am a doctor.
Are you?
My diploma's inside, if you care to look.
Oh, well, no, I'm not the patient.
Who is then?
A woman and her baby.
What's wrong with them?
The baby might have typhoid fever.
Might have?
Well, I'm not sure.
Where are they?
They're lying in a wagon a day's ride from here.
I see.
It's a long ride.
You'll find my horse in the stable. By the time you have him saddled, I'll be ready to go.
You're quite a woman.
I'm a doctor, Mr. Paladin.
Wait a minute.
Oh. Looks like a delegation, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Just a minute, you two. I got something to say.
Yes, Mr. Davis?
Mister, you didn't tell us those people had typhoid fever.
No, I didn't. Who did?
I did. My name's Jeremiah Mulrooney.
Well, now, Mulrooney. You don't look like a murderer.
What?
You sentenced that woman and her baby to die when you left them out in the desert.
They're diseased.
You've done nothing to help them?
Look, mister, typhoid's a terrible thing. It's nothing to fool around with. We don't want it here.
He that toucheth pitch shall be defiled forthwith. You've consorted with a disease. The fever is upon you, too.
So, you'd better make tracks, mister.
Wait. Mr. Davis, he's not even sure it is typhoid.
I'm sure. I saw it.
You're not qualified to say.
And who says she is?
Are you going out there with this man, Miss Thackeray?
Well, of course, Mr. Davis. I'm a doctor.
All right, that's up to you, but once you mix with a fever, you're not welcome back here. And don't try bringing those fever patients back here, either.
If we have to bring them back, we will.
Look, we got folks to protect, children of our own. And we'll shoot you down if we have to keep them safe.
They mean what they say, Mr. Paladin.
So do I. You ready to go?
I'm ready.
December 28th, 1958, Have Gun Will Travel on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Thanks for tuning in to Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Now the conclusion of Have Gun Will Travel, December 28th, 1958.
I guess perhaps I wasn't used to the idea of a woman doctor myself, especially one as pretty as Phyllis Thackeray. She rode beside me through the desert, all night, without rest, without complaint. Now it was just after sunrise.
Maybe I should have brought something for saddle sores.
You want to rest?
I want to get to that baby.
Yeah, shouldn't be long now.
Good.
You know, you should be on a velvet settee, wearing a hoop skirt and fluttering your eyelash over a fan.
I tried that. It was too easy.
Is that why you studied medicine? This was hard?
Maybe, something like that.
Wasn't it tough enough practicing back east?
I guess I'm as much missionary as physician. I was the second woman to graduate from my medical school. Others came after me. It was difficult for all of us, but gradually we're becoming accepted as something better than freaks.
You're not accepted yet. You just got run out of town.
Maybe I'm not the missionary I think I am.
Or the doctor.
Well, we'll see. Here's the wagon up ahead.
I don't see anybody.
Neither do I. Come on. Ooh, now. Ooh. They're in there, all right. Both sleeping.
I hope that's what it is.
Is there anything I can do?
Just help me up there. And cross your fingers.
Doctor, coffee's ready.
Smells good.
The food will be ready in a minute. Here.
Thanks.
How are they?
Well, the mother's suffering from exhaustion, exposure, nerves, no sleep.
The baby? Typhoid?
Well, maybe. I don't know yet.
Mulrooney knows all the symptoms.
So do I. High fever, red spots, delirium, and a coma that leads to the crisis. The baby has all of them. Still, it could be something else. But whatever it is, I can't do much for her in this wilderness.
You want to take them back to town?
Yes.
You know what that means?
Yes.
It's necessary, medically?
Yes.
I'll hitch the horses to the wagon.
Mr. Paladin. You don't have to come with me.
I wouldn't miss it. There's something about that Mulrooney's face I didn't like.
All right. Stop that wagon right there. Don't come no farther.
Hooda!
They have guns, Mr. Paladin.
I'm going to try to talk some sense into their heads. Here, hold the reins.
Stand right there. No closer.
Dr. Thackeray has examined the woman and child. The woman has no signs of typhoid.
Her child is diseased.
The doctor isn't sure the baby has typhoid.
I'm sure.
That baby needs treatment. Now, Mr. Davis, you're a sensible man. Are you going to let Mulrooney sentence a woman and child to death?
We'll bring what you need out here. But you ain't bringing them into town.
They'll be completely isolated in the doctor's office.
Paladin, they're sick, and we can't take the chance. We've got to protect us.
They're not as sick as you people. Now, you may be able to keep them out of this settlement, but you'll carry your own sickness with you wherever you go. You'll die again every time you see a baby smile.
We've got our own kids to think about.
How do your children cry when they're sick? Any different from that baby? Suppose it was your child crying like that. Would you send it to the desert to die? Now listen to me, all of you. I'm driving that wagon to the doctor's office, and don't you try to stop me. If you need a doctor, you know where she'll be.
We won't let you do it, Paladin. We won't let you bring disease and pestilence into our midst.
I'm afraid they'll use those guns, Mr. Paladin.
Get back there with Mrs. Benson. Both of you lie flat.
You gonna try it?
Go on, get back.
Come on. Stop him! Shoot!
Mr. Paladin, are you all right?
Fine, we're through. I'll have you in your office in another minute. All through that night, I sat on her porch and kept watch, seeing their torches, hearing the voice of Mulrooney haranguing the townspeople, working them up. But they didn't come. And inside, the doctor worked with her patients. It was after dawn when she came out to me.
Still quiet?
Oh, well. Mulrooney is still working on them like a witch doctor.
There's breakfast inside. You'd better eat something. I'll stand guard for a while.
Thanks. How's Mrs. Benson?
She'll be all right after she gets some rest.
And the baby?
The fever broke last night.
Oh, what does that mean?
It isn't typhoid.
Not typhoid? You sure?
Yes.
Well, how can you be certain? You've only been with her overnight.
You still doubt me, don't you, Mr. Paladin?
The symptoms are there.
Symptoms can be ambiguous. Now get your breakfast. You need it.
All right.
Good morning, Mr. Paladin.
Well, Mrs. Benson, it's nice to see you up and around.
Wish I could tell you how much I appreciate it.
Oh, no. No gratitude before breakfast. Baby's better, huh?
Yes, much better.
Miss Benson, why does Mulrooney hate you so much?
My husband died early on the trip. After a while, Mulrooney wanted me to marry him. Said it was God's will to care for widows, and he was the chosen messenger. I wouldn't let him near me. Then the baby got sick.
Come on, Ty.
What is it?
They're coming. Look.
I'll handle them. Go inside with Mrs. Benson.
No, maybe I can help.
You take care of your patients. You may have some new ones.
I want to stay.
All right, but stand back.
That's far enough, Mulrooney.
This torch is the fire of truth and justice, Paladin. It will burn away the seeds that Clara Benson has spread among us. It will scourge the disease from our souls and bodies and purify these homes again.
The only disease is in you, Mulrooney. Mrs. Benson is well, and the baby is out of danger.
Lies! In the very face of judgment.
Mulrooney, I'm giving you 15 seconds to drop that torch and call off those rifles.
The flames of the just will banish this scourge. Let the fires rage in the land of...
You have 10 seconds.
Wait! Listen, all of you. That baby never had typhoid fever.
Don't believe her. I saw the child raging with fever, livid with rash.
That rash was measles! 3-day measles!
You're lying.
3-day measles, Mr. Mulrooney. And you left them to die because of it.
Mrs. Benson, bring the baby out.
No, it's not true. You're trying to humiliate me, to belittle me.
You'll see. All of you. The fever is down. The rash has faded. Her eyes are bright. There, look.
Look at her, Mulrooney. You can kill people with hate, but not with 3-day measles.
Mulrooney, 3-day measles.
Stop! Stop it! You can't laugh at me! Stop! Paladin!
Mulrooney, don't be a fool.
I'm going to kill you, Paladin. I'm going to laugh at your grave.
Let me see.
There's no need. I think he's dead.
You shoot very straight.
Mr. Paladin.
What do you want?
Mr. Paladin. Well, I guess we was wrong to listen to him. He seemed to have so much book learning. But he was just setting us against each other. I'm glad we woke up in time.
Next time, you better wake up a little sooner. Dr. Thackeray, this town hasn't been too good for you. Maybe you'd like to come along with me. They can always use a good doctor in San Francisco.
Oh, please, ma'am. I guess we ain't been very friendly, but we'll make it up to you if you'll forgive us and stay.
Well, Dr. Thackeray?
Thanks, Mr. Paladin, for your offer. But there are too many of those velvet settees in San Francisco. I'll stay here where I'm needed.
Oh, good afternoon, Mr. Paladin.
Good afternoon, hey boy.
You get in late last night. Sleep all day. Now up and feeling fine.
I do indeed.
Oh, you have good time with Lady Cleo?
Lady Cleo?
Lady who sent for you, you know.
Oh, as a matter of fact, I'd forgotten about her.
Oh, sure.
I met a lady who was much more charming. A lady doctor.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I've had a fine case of 3-day measles.
Oh, yeah, the 3-day measles. Oh, sure.
It's true.
You got dirty laundry. You put out tonight.
To coin a phrase, hey boy. Oh, sure.
Have Gun, Will Travel. Created by Herb Meadow and Sam Rolfe.
is produced and directed by Norman MacDonald and stars John Dehner as Paladin with Ben Wright as Hayboy. Tonight's story was written by Don Brinkley and adapted for radio by John Dunkel. Featured in the cast were Virginia Gregg, Vic Perrin, Gene Bates, and Lou Krugman. Hugh Douglas speaking.
December 28th, 1958, Have Gun Will Travel here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Thank you so much for making us a part of your day. Thank this station, support their advertisers. It's their kindness and courtesy that allows us to be with you each and every time we roll around here on your favorite station. And a reminder, visit my webpage, classicradio.stream. If you miss a day, you won't miss a single show. You can hear all of our shows on demand there at classicradio.stream. You can also learn about building a classic radio collection of your own. You can contact me, find our social media links, and if you'd like to support our program, you can buy me a coffee. That Buy Me a Coffee money goes for us to acquire additional classic radio theater programs and keep our distribution channels up and running. That's at classicradio.stream. Thank this station, support their advertisers, tell your friends the great radio shows are right here at this spot on the dial. Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox on your favorite radio station.